Good morning, Prime Minister. Ashley Burke, CBC News. Since the U.S. called off trade talks with Canada, has Mr. Trump returned your calls, texts, or accepted your apology over the Ontario ad?
He accepted the apology when I spoke to him, and we've had discussions. I've been busy. There's another point, though. I've been busy.
Yeah, Mark Carney's been busy, all right. He's been jet-setting all around the world since the day he took office, and you and me are picking up the tab. And his words and actions only confirm what we already knew. He represents European globalists and their interests, and not the interests of the Canadian people. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Make sure you smash the like button and leave me a comment down below. And if it's your first time here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Has anybody else noticed that when Mark Carney is speaking to his European globalist pals on one of his many, many trips, and when he's addressing Canadians, he often seems to have two very different messages? I'm talking, of course, about this. This from Global News earlier today. Carney says constructive talks are ongoing with Alberta about oil pipeline, because he's always trying to reassure Canadians that he's doing everything that he can to develop our energy sector and make us independent from the United States in the ongoing trade war that he seems to be doing everything in his power to exacerbate. One of the very first things that Mark Carney did when he took office last April was he canceled the consumer carbon tax, which was lifted directly from the Conservative Party platform. Now, when he did this, he sent the signal that he was willing to develop Canada's energy sector and maybe turn the page on Justin Trudeau's destructive net zero policies. However, when he was in South Africa this weekend, he signaled that he was indeed still the same old net zero Mark Carney.
In terms of our own mitigation, I'll just frame it as follows. We view addressing climate change as a moral duty, but also a commercial imperative, as Prime Minister Albanese just intimated. So our strategy on reducing emissions is a climate competitiveness strategy because it will make our businesses stronger. I referenced in my earlier comments blended finance. I'll just reinforce those, the importance of those efforts, including through the World Bank and beyond. But I want to highlight a few other issues before my time is up. First, the importance of high-integrity, standardized carbon markets that have the potential to shift capital flows to those most affected by climate change, including being integrated with JETPs, such as the JETP here, changing the incentives and the financial calculations to decarbonize. I'd suggest that we can catalyze enormous private sector demand for these credits by committing AI data center development to be carbon neutral. We need a price on carbon. I salute my neighbor, the European Union, in pricing carbon and putting in place a CBAN. I'm going to conclude.
Now, he just used an acronym so casually there, CBAN, and many people out there don't understand or even know what that means. It stands for Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. Now, this, of course, is what Pierre Poilievre refers to as the industrial carbon tax, but this is done on a global scale. It certainly doesn't matter if they remove the consumer carbon tax, and it's especially egregious when you consider that they're still putting these taxes in place that are driving inflation, only you don't get that rebate check that they spent the last 5 years gaslighting you into believing that it somehow makes up for this hyperinflation driven by these net zero policies. So let's take a look at what a CBAM is. So this is from Politico. EU strains to defend carbon levy as trade tensions engulf COP30. India, China, and other countries are challenging CBAM in climate talks. The European Union is under pressure to defend its new carbon tariff scheme as trade tensions swamp this year's global climate talks. Indeed, guys, the CBAM mechanism is just another tax, and in fact, it's a tariff when you consider that they are punishing countries that engage in policies that they don't like, such as having an energy sector, having people drive their cars to work. It's absolutely ridiculous that on one hand, they'll criticize Donald Trump for instituting tariffs to change people's behavior, which I agree. I don't like it either. But these globalists are doing the exact same thing. And just as an interesting aside, speaking of globalists, I can't believe I'm defending anything Bill Gates has done, but this story came out at the end of October, and I found this fascinating. Bill Gates makes a stunning claim about climate change. That's right, guys. Even Bill Gates can't justify this nonsense anymore. In a stunning and significant pushback to the doomsday climate activist community, Bill Gates, a leading proponent for carbon emission reductions, published an essay Tuesday that argues resources must be shifted away from the battle against climate change. Climate change is not going to wipe out humanity, he argued, and past efforts that strive for achieving zero carbon emissions have made real progress. But Bill Gates said that past investments fighting climate change have been misplaced and too much good money has been put into expensive and questionable efforts. Now, like I said, I hate to agree with Bill Gates on anything, but what Mark Carney is attempting to do here certainly seems to me like a questionable effort, especially when you consider that he is going all the way across the world to seek out new net zero trading partners when we are already geographically tied to the United States. Now, this whole business about Canada being masters of our own house, I agree, we should be more self-sufficient. But the reality is, if we have been capable of this the entire time, why is 70% of our population this close to the American border? And if the goal really is to reduce carbon emissions, wouldn't it make more sense to export our energy a little bit closer to home rather than put it on tankers and ship it all the way across the world? Unless it's not really about the environment. Unless it's about making money for companies that Mark Carney is invested in. Just something to think about. Now, getting back to the start of the video when the reporter asked Mark Carney about when trade talks will resume with the United States, she attempts to ask a follow-up about this, and Mark Carney gets very annoyed with her.
Who cares? I mean, it's a detail. It's a detail. I spoke to him. I'll speak to him again when it matters. I mean, the sort of...
Now, can you just imagine for a second being one of the thousands of Canadians who are losing their jobs right now in the steel, aluminum, auto, and lumber sectors, to name just a few? Imagine hearing that. Who cares? Seriously, that's his answer to this. Might I remind you guys that Mark Carney was elected under the false pretense that he would be the one to get a deal with Donald Trump and resume trade negotiations with our longest-standing political, military, and economic ally, a relationship that has existed for centuries. It's just unbelievable, man. Mark Carney does not care about this, he doesn't care about Canada, and he doesn't care about you. And I'm going to land the plane with that. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. And as always, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Johnny from Nova Scotia says thank you. Hey, Johnny from Nouvelle-Écosse, il dit merci, thank you.
Thanks to you. God
Thank you
bless
so much.
you.
Perfect.
We're from Quebec.
Yeah, Quebec.